Why do you believe your request for a whistleblower policy was repeatedly ignored?
It was definitely a whistleblower policy. I remember the initial emails got in, it's gone. I hope to raise some awareness about the dangers of not just Andysmanclub, but mental health treatment on the whole. Not only was I meeting more evil and trying to combat that, but the very support structures and organisation that I was supposed to be representing was complicit and then began to target and gaslight me. It needs to stop. There needs to be accountability and ownership. That is the only way you get better. And again, these organisations are offering help whilst condemning people to a life of victimhood, and that is evil.
Why do you believe your request for a whistleblower policy was repeatedly ignored? What does this say about the organisation's commitment to addressing serious concerns?
Well, it isn't just that the request was ignored, it was definitely a whistleblower policy. I remember seeing the link and I didn't click it at the time. Again, my neurodivergence, I struggle sometimes to not let my passion get the best of me. So I clocked it was there while I was searching for something else initially. And then when I've gone back to look at it, after the initial emails got in, it's gone. There was a thing in the safeguarding terms that they had that referred to their whistleblower policy, gone. And the reason it was ignored was because they knew that I was blowing the whistle and they were covering it up. Yeah.
In a very emotional email, you wrote that your experience with Andysmanclub had made you feel suicidal. Can you explain how the actions of specific individuals and the overall atmosphere led you to feel this way?
Yeah. So anyone who's ever dealt with any kind of narcissist knows that the main goal is to detach you from reality. And when you're someone who struggles with understanding why things are the way they are already, that is a huge deal. Colossal. So there was that. There was the fact that I already see the world through a very truthful lens, and I'm aware that there's lots of bad in it. And all I was trying to do was do good and take the negative experiences of my life and turn them into something good, to make it worthwhile, to try and help others. And not only was I meeting more evil and trying to combat that, but the very support structures and organisation that I was supposed to be representing was complicit and then began to target and gaslight me. So yeah, I was suicidal. Now, again, they talk about breaking the stigma. Suicidal is... I feel suicidal. I used to feel suicidal nearly every day. It was always a thing of, just fucking kill yourself then. This genuinely took me to a dark place of, what's the fucking point? Like, you're never going to be able to help anyone. It's just going to keep getting worse. And these people are directly profiting from not just vulnerable people, but frankly abusing vulnerable people by trapping them in this victim mentality and keeping them there and keeping them dependent, isolating them from their loved ones. Yeah, it was a really, really, really dark place to be in. Yeah. Hence why, it's took me nearly a year to confront this, but it has been eating me up that I haven't done something more publicly about it to make people aware of the dangers of mental health treatment. And while we're at it, to offer help whilst abusing, say you're helping whilst abusing is evil. There is no other way to look at it.
You used the term gaslighting to describe how the organisation was handling your complaint. What specific actions or statements led you to feel that way?
Well, I feel like we've kind of covered that. They were telling us that they were sending people up to investigate. They didn't. They were telling us that Neil Wayne had no involvement, but he did. Just lies on lies on lies. Again, trying to detach from the reality of the situation so that they could cover it up. And not just that, confuse the situation. Like, what a mess this is. I am trying to put it forward so that people can understand, but I don't think I am doing a good job. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing it at all properly, to be honest, which is why I'm grateful for you reaching out, because, well, this is the intent of just pulling people's brains apart every which way but loose. Evil.
You stated that you have been brought horror stories from other people. What kind of stories are you hearing, and why do you believe these issues are more widespread than the organisation claims?
So more widespread, we had a guy that was in the Marines, and he'd been at one down south, and the only thing he fed back was that the facilitators there were making everything about themselves. They had something to say on every point, which, yes, you can relate to some, but sometimes you've just got to... It's hard, that. You're supported. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Do you feel better now that you've got it out? Good. Now you can deal with it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be, oh, well, I am the big I am on everything, but they were. And then the same thing happened when someone else went to a group in Preston. Beyond that, if you look at the way the organisation has operated, particularly towards me, the fact that Neil Wayne has now become head of groups, even though he has this behaviour, and anyone who knows anything can just look at him and listen to him for 3 minutes and will know this isn't someone that is in good mental health themselves, that understands what the idea of good mental health is or that should be followed. Or even if you listen to Luke Ambler, who's trying to make, or who has made himself a career off the back of this, he just talks fucking nonsense. Horror stories from other people. Again, that's stuff from like the work at the Energous facilitator, the Cockermouth guys in particular, about the coercion for having to run a group by himself. Then there was the whole air rifle incident, and then there was some kind of coup where this other guy who was subservient to the cause, shall we say, was pushing out this other guy. It was a whole mess. Again, there's been some time past, and I don't want to give false information just because I don't remember properly. But, well, there's a lot of information. There's been a lot been brought. There's been a lot that I forgot because it just became normal.
Daniel, you've been very open about your experiences. What do you hope will come from you speaking out now?
I hope to raise some awareness about the dangers of not just Andysmanclub, but mental health treatment on the whole. Like, well, as I've stated, if it is about giving you coping skills and telling you to just hang in there, that isn't getting better. That is reinforcing your victim mentality. Excusing the way you act because of trauma or certain things is not okay. It's not how you get better. It is making everyone worse. Everyone. And it needs to stop. There needs to be accountability and ownership. That is the only way you get better. And again, these organisations are offering help whilst condemning people to a life of victimhood, and that is evil. Something good I heard the other day is trauma isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility, such is the way of life. And I think that's great. These organisations try and say, oh, no, you're the victim. It's always other people. Come here and have a hug. That's the love bombing. And then, again, because any normal person outside can be like, hey, your behaviour's a bit, like, your behaviour's going downhill. You can't act the way you are. Well, you just don't understand because I've got trauma. And then they go back to Andysmanclub where it gets reinforced and they get love bombed again. So again, the only place they're understood is there, which isolates them from everyone. And then wouldn't you know it, you're locked in. You have to toe the line, because if you now abandon the boys' club that has dragged you down into this situation, you're alone, which is really good for most people, but for some reason people are terrified of being alone when a majority of people need some time alone to actually understand who they are and what their morals are. And again, to take some accountability and ownership of their life, trauma, and to move forward.